platform, and thank you to Bookingjini for creating this opportunity. Thank you, Subhashish Mishra. Today's theme and topic is hotel distribution, a paradigm shift. As we all know, our industry, the travel trade, entire tourism, the specifically hotel industry is undergoing a huge transition in terms of a challenge which is posed by the recent happenings in the past. This has really become important to come alive and discuss the various topics and discuss how do we take it forward. Today on this panel, I have esteemed colleagues from the travel trade, Mr. Ran Vijay Singh, owner Umaid Hotels, executive committee member of the Hotel Association of Jaipur. May I request each panel member to raise their hands. Mr. Amarjit Singh, CEO, SoftGen India. His software has been operating with North Indian hotels for a very long time. Mr. Amarjit Singh, you may like to say hello to the viewers.
Good evening, everyone.
Thank you. Mr. Praveen Paul, co-founder, Windsor Group.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone.
As Praveen comes on, he will share his immense experience of the creating new normals. Mr. Deepak Tuli, ex-CBO MMYT Make My Trip, as we know it, group and co-founder of GoIBGo. So to set the context, I would first little brief I have about myself. My name is Sunil Gupta. I have had about 4 decades of experience of hospitality industry, operating hotels. Started my career as management trainee with the hotel chain and grew up to the position of CEO, Chief Executive Officer, controlling about 60 properties pan-India. I superannuated last year and has been sharing my viewpoints ever since. To set the context for today's evening, I would like to share my thoughts and views with you, colleagues. Today, as we deliberate on the hotel inventory distribution, a paradigm shift, I think it's pertinent to discuss the segments which a hotel caters to, the lead time for reservations for each segment, and the medium used to make the reservations. The travel agent, the voice call, on the mail, on internet portals, when I say, the RFP, etc., or recently the artificial intelligence driven technology. We have experienced a very sharp swing owing to technology in the medium used in the recent times. Talking about segments, we have noted that large bookings for MICE has generally been received and included more than a month ago. There's a lead time is you negotiate a large chunk of business for some time, and a hotel prefers a layer up to a good 30 to 40% from this account. You want to layer your reservations. With base occupancy, my base must always remain full through the MICE. Corporates also communicate generally through mail, and reservations are about 72 hours in advance. And for a business hotel, this could be as high as 30% of the total inventory. Sometimes a contracted airline agreement for crew provide this relief. Again, it's a nearly signed contract, and it formulates a very strong base occupancy which can keep the hotel occupancies filled up to 25 to 30%. A business hotel in a city generally would be aspiring to garner about revenue from remaining inventory, which could be anything about 30 to 40% at a higher value price band, because you've already layered yourself 50 to 55% occupancy with this, and now you want to build good revenue through a better value propositions. But for seasonal locations and the leisure locations, this percentage could be as high as 50%, because either they have MICE or they have leisure. That privilege of corporate is kind of missing there unless they have contracts and they are part of the holiday homes, etc., etc. This gave rise to need to communicate more immediately, faster, and frequently, reaching out to the global audience. This is where the technology surfaced up, booking engines came up into existence, interfacing with global distribution systems, channel managers, and any other portals which had the means to bring the reservation to property through the faster means of internet. While the social media and other internet tools were applied to create wider reach to global audience, it created awareness amongst the traveler to a large extent. Now the supporting technology came up to support the possible inquiry into conversions began, inquiry into reservation. But it also created larger confusion and also made the tariff or the price of individual properties public. This is where a comparative started coming and everybody started. There are 6 properties, Marriott, Hilton, this, all are showing same price. So the consumer was thoroughly confused. Which one can I pick and which one to leave? Which is a large number of cases created confusion amongst the travelers and panic also in some cases. Panic mainly amongst the seller. Because if the travel agent was selling at a price and suddenly, they see that look, online is now selling this. So there was a panic, look, either I can sell this or you do this. So this gave rise to a phenomena called revenue management. And the revenue managers came alive. This is an old saying, the war is won not by the machine, but the man behind the machine. In this case, revenue manager became the man behind the machine. However, need to calibrate and recalibrate the price became even more intense, and revenue manager had to apply intelligence to ensure he optimizes the yield to right occupancy and the price. If you all agree with me, he had to be continuously at job on this. Ladies and gentlemen, this was the story evolving, but alas, COVID hit and the entire activity came under suspension. Suspended state. Now is the real challenge. How do we revive it? We were there, but we suddenly are no more. To my mind, as my experience tells me, if the need to drive for effective hotel distribution and reach will be more important now than ever before. First and foremost, we need to highlight the hygiene and health safety services put in place and without impacting the arrival experience. I'm highlighting this point because one is that you are doing something at your property, but I think need to highlight is the point I'm saying. How do you reach? How do you reach out to the customer? Look, this is where you get all this. Suddenly we've been asked no contact points, no touch, etc., etc. How do you no contact point to be countered by being caring and concerned and at your service model? At your service has always been our motto, but suddenly, this no contact, no touch points has become the highlight of everything is changing around, leave this here, leave that there, and people will move. So how do you bring that warmth back where a customer gets reassured the team is available and it is my service? I'm sure somebody will discuss, maybe Mr. Praveen will talk about it a little in detail. Immediacy or urgency of the response to any query will be the highest priority now. In case somebody is put in an inquiry, maybe a casual inquiry, but need to answer him instantly would be much more faster than earlier we could have taken some time, but this will have to be responded immediately. Demand creation, the technology has to support and create, I guess, larger number of packages, which is kind of a demand creation. Like we spoke about staycations, then came the workations. Now today I came across new terminology called, there are more and more packages being developed by the teenagers. Now we've heard of teenagers. So what are teenagers? Teenagers are all senior citizens. So I think senior citizens are in the focus again, and teenager packages will have to come out. MICE may not be back to a normal for about a year. This has to be kept in mind. So all those large banquet hall boardrooms and inventories would continue to remain. One of the things we have to be very, very careful in this, unlike past, our channel partners, travel trade, will need to be given due consideration as they may not get any yield from whom. But they can only make a living by clubbing the other services with it. Because as you're trying to offer a great value offer to the guest, and guest is trying to receive it direct and faster, a travel trade partner would still be the one who will consolidate all services, including transport, reach out, experience in the city, etc., and then package it and do it for you. I'm talking in terms of in the context of hotels. Alternate usage of available spaces and services at hotels. I think from a revenue management point, this becomes very important. Some properties, 200 rooms, 300 rooms, how do you make rooms available? How do you make the services uh, available to the city and make it more revenue generative for the hotel? Technology more specific to create reach to specific segments rather than spanning the entire market framework. When I say this, I guess we can do it as I understand to some extent, hashtag this, hashtag that. But I think our marketing approach to technology has to become a little more specific that this goes to this market, this goes to this market, maybe locations, etc., etc. Because short haul traveling will be more. People will be using the surface transport more than anything else. One of the things everybody will have to keep in mind, hotels will not have the privilege or luxury of affording the hefty commissions which they were willing to pay to the OTAs. I mean, they could be anything, earlier it was anything from 20% to 30%. I think considering that hotels have to create great value offers, this may be just not there or on the outer limit 8 to 10%. So hence more and more direct reservation links will be required in this case, where a guest gets the confidence that he is not really getting into too many commission models. Independent properties may have to hook up to brands to create more number of experience and points, which means, sales and marketing brands can come. For revenue manager, the balance between the occupancy and price will have to arrive at to ensure the green bottom line of hotel will have to be. So I think a huge challenge for this. As we move ahead, I'm sure the panelists will throw light on all these aspects and the industry will bounce back to judicious utilization of the assets, creating revenues to create the industry and the people employed in it going. I shall closing my remarks by expressing the reassurance model which will bring in the confidence of the guest on health, hygiene and special mention of care during the stay and post. In case somebody wants to deal with you, give a feedback and also want a response or has a health issue post he's gone back, he will look at reassurance model there. And that technology should be able to handle after the stay, after the experience, it is still can be attended to. So that's what my point. I would now thank you, gentlemen, for being with me on this. I would now request Mr. Ranvijay Singh to share his views as to how he has been dealing with the challenges so far and how does he plan to do in times to come.
Hello, everybody. My name is Ranvijay, and I have been running hotels since last 28 years. I have been running hotels since I was in class 10. So now it's been 28 years. We started with only 8 rooms, and now I have over 200 rooms, a small chain, a boutique hotel chain. And our main focus is that our 99 to almost 100% occupancy is all driven by our direct and indirect channels, mostly on our own website and our OTA partners. And I personally I take care of. I don't have a very large team. 200 rooms, 6 hotels. I manage with me, and there's one more person. So we have a team of 2, and we are using technology to drive business, mostly through OTAs and our direct booking channel. Our core and our strength is our booking engine, which is our direct channel booking engine, and our channel manager. For the last 2-3 months, I've been working very closely with my channel manager and my booking engine to create products where I could compete with OTAs, so that my guest acquisition cost becomes lower. As I speak, our guest acquisition is between 15 to 22%, and we are driving our bookings through our booking engine. We are working on our content on our booking. On our website, we are working on our booking system where we are creating products which are similar products what an OTA is giving to the guest, like pre-purchased mobile only deal, international IP, and also cross-selling, because we are a chain of 6 hotels in the city. So our interfaces, we also do cross-selling between our city, between our hotels, which is, if one hotel is occupied, automatically the guest we don't lose the guest, automatically it's driven to our next available hotel. So that cross-selling policy is really working well. We are looking at subscription-based OTAs. So there are multiple new channel OTAs which have come up in the world and which are entered Asia. One of the prime and the most popular OTA, which is known as bidrooms.com. It is a subscription-based OTA which charges a subscription and doesn't charge a TAC. So so for that we are very closely working with our channel manager, and a channel manager is very, very important for a hotel right now, is because all the interfaces, because nobody wants to get into the customer care of a reservation. So most of the interfaces, like the new channels which I am talking about, the bid rooms, they all interface with your booking engine. So basically, they don't want to get into the customer support or guest calling them and asking about the reservation. It all is getting interfaced through our booking engine. So similarly, we are also looking at marketplaces which have got direct interface with our channel partner marketplace, where we are looking at marketplace for mice and meeting and incentive. Few marketplaces which we have in the last 4 months have had an interface is Hotel Planner, Seatweb, where we have direct connectivity with them to try and explore new markets, where we give our display our products and our booking. So it's all basically, it is basic. The idea is that everything is driven online. So even if somebody calls, we don't take reservations on telephone. If you call any of our hotels, every time the call answer the front desk or the manager at the reservations, that is mostly me. We only take reservations online, and we have also started coupon code booking system, where we discount the guests with our special coupon codes which are booking engine through our booking engine. So we have special links. We've recently been using a chat box which we have interface. That chat box has an API with our PMS. So any guest, and it is artificially intelligent. It is you just have to feed whatever possible question a guest is answering. All the questions and answers are pre-designed, already already answered, and it also drives direct booking to our website. So basically, using artificial intelligence on our chat box, so that we create more reservations. We are using contactless and hotel communication with our new platform. We are using is WhatsApp Business, which has been intensively used in all our hotels, because WhatsApp Business allows you to create catalogs within the WhatsApp, catalogs for your restaurant, to upsell your spa or upsell all other products which a guest can easily, we can pass on the guest instantly through a barcode. Our guest, we are exploring through our channel manager, we are exploring new markets. Recently we had this specific, we are trying to get in, have an API with a booking OTA which is known as halalbooking.com. So halalbooking.com is very, it is for guests from our Muslim countries, where they are very halal conscious guests. So we are trying to get new avenues so that our booking engine can have an API with these kind of OTAs. So as I speak right now, I am already working closely with over 60 OTAs, apart from the traditional 10 OTAs or 15 OTAs you have within India. I am working over 20 OTAs in the last 4-5 months. I have recently signed up with few OTAs. I'll just name them by like Sun Hotels, which is a very popular OTA in Sweden. So basically, the best way to increase your visibility and increase your presence on the World Wide Web, and also on where the eyeballs are, is to have individual, like we have Make My Trip, Go IBGO, Booking, all these are Indian OTAs, but we never sign up with OTAs which is very popular. I will say in Indonesia. So if you go to Indonesia, there is an OTA known as Traveloka. So nobody knows about it, but if you sign up with Traveloka, probably you have a visibility in Indonesia. Now, whenever we have our borders opened up, all our flights and the travel normalized, I think signing up and having all those APIs done with our channel manager will immediately increase our production, and also our Book Direct campaign, which is we are very aggressively doing right now on our booking engine, because our booking engine we are also working on, and he actually doesn't finish booking it. Between the booking funnel he aborts. We try and convince the guest to bid his price. So basically, the guest can bid and tell us that he wants to book, but he has a price line, a price in mind which he could book. So all
I think Ranvijay, you raised quite a few. I can see that you studied the internet horizon pretty well, and you've raised a couple of pointers that this I see it as a strong competitor. The bidding processes I see as a strong competitor to the online travel reservations. You also brought another interesting point out, is the chatbot application, which is facilitated by the artificial intelligence. I have a question here before I go on to Mr. Amarjit, and since he drives the technology setup, I have a question here. I mean, since you're doing a whole lot of things, and there's a lot of research happening, and you're also sort of, this calls for looking at actively in all these portals, outputs, what is happening, where it is. It's almost like looking at 8 or 10 dashboards or dials, or it's almost like flying an aircraft every day. So, do you handle all this alone, or you have?
That is what I said, sir. That I alone, and I have one more guy who's helping me. We are handling even with the reservation. So I and my colleague, we take all the phone calls, and most of our communication is on WhatsApp. WhatsApp is an amazing tool. We have our WhatsApp, and soon I think we will. In coming days, I think we should be having an API with WhatsApp. Probably we'll have reservations happening on WhatsApp and money transfer happening on WhatsApp. And as you know now, Amazon is coming up in a big way into travel space. And Amazon, when it comes to enters India, what I feel, my gut feeling is that they are going to come up with a subscription model, and they probably will come up with a subscription model which they will have the same thing, having an interface with our booking engine, and charging a hotel and charging to get listed on probably Amazon Book a Hotel or some kind of a channel they will create. And on the social media front also, I have been working very closely. I have been creating our hotel page on Telegram. There is a new.
Just hold on to the social media. I will come back to you as we complete the first round. I'll come back to you. In the sense, essentially the distribution network with the Amazon within India would also become much wider, and much, outreach will be much deeper into India. It will probably generate larger inflow of the domestic tourism. Mr. Amarjit Singh, you've been...
Sumitji, one thing I just didn't touch is, the Google is going to play a big role now, and having a good channel manager. Google is going to fetch all your competitor rates now from the channel manager now on.
Yes.
Right now, if you see all the hotels, they have a lot of disparity when they book online.
Yeah. These upgradations or these technologies are still in the phase of development. Things are taking shape, but essentially, wisdom will fall in place, and more rational and reasonable softwares will begin to surface up. So I was requesting Mr. Amarjit Singh to share his thoughts because his software with the brand name of SoftGen has been providing, I think, services at a very large number of hotels and restaurants. What has been your experience? What has been the changes you have to make, or what are the changes you're looking at doing it? Kindly share your thoughts, sir.
Yeah, I have whatever has been said by now. I understand. I'll just give you a very simple example on that. A guest is looking to book a hotel of his choice on a hill station,
Right.
and suddenly he go to a portal of a very well-known OTA and try to find that hotel there, and he finds that that hotel is sold out. And many reasons for that. And somehow he reaches there, and because he liked the original hotel, because of its services, because of its ambience, because of its food quality, so he just walk into that hotel. And while passing through the reception, he finds he talked to the receptionist and casually inquire about the availability of the room. Now, the receptionist say, "Sir, room is available." That guest just take out his mobile and say, "It is showing sold out on your portal." So now, when we talk of technology, there can be fault at operator end, the person who is operating that system. There can be a fault with the property management system which that hotel is using.
Right.
That's software possibly failed to sync the data with channel manager. There can be a fault with channel manager that fails to upload the inventory to the OTA site.
Right.
The unforeseen reason with OTA that the guest couldn't get the availability on the portal. Whatever way we take this, the hotel is sharing its profit with everybody, with its employees, with its PMS company, with its channel manager company, whether it is a OTA. Now, the hotel was on verge of losing that guest. Why? Because whether it is a guest fault that he failed to check up the availability on telephone, or it was a fault of technology. Friends, it doesn't matter using technology, but using the technology in best way that is required. That I feel. So, like you asked, the software which our company is making. Now, the requirement of the hotel is coming a touch-free check-in system, touch-free ordering. And guidelines are changing so frequently that the IT companies, they are getting confused from where to start and where to end. So what I feel that the meeting the requirement of the government and the meeting the requirement of the hotel, we have to set a balance between the two, right? And we have to derive a system. Maybe it is through APIs, maybe it is through integrations, maybe it is through new developments that we meet the requirement of the guest in general, hotel and government in particular. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Amarjeet. I think you raised a valid point in terms of, there are three, four partners. There is a guest, there is a TMS, there is a TRS, and then there is a OT or channel manager or some portal, which is connecting. So let's take at this juncture, let's take the view of Deepak fully as to what has been his experience and what are his views on this entire agenda topic and how does he see it? Mr. Deepak Puli.
Yeah, hi. Thank you, Sunil. So I will just take a step back and take you to the journey very quickly, which I saw during my Go IBGO stint. So when we started looking at hotel as a problem way back in 2013, mobile was coming. We were the first one to use mobile, and then we figured out the way hotel industry was working was very, this was in India, especially Indian hotel industry, the way they were distributing at that time was very, very different, backward compared to any other industry. Right? When I went to the hotels in small towns, even in places like Shimla, Mussoorie, which is tier 3, tier 4, the guy who's running the reception was running, multiple stuff. And I'm talking about the large population of the hotels, which are 2-3 stars, sub 1500 to 1000 rupees at that time, actually. Price point, which was the large chunk of the hotel inventory in India. The guy at the reception would go to market, buy vegetables. The guy at the reception would, kind of control hotel operation. The guy at the reception will take the customer call. He will, settle the price with the customer. And I was surprised when I went to Mount Abu, people, hotels had like 4 or 5 tariffs on the reception. Depending on how many cars coming from Gujarat, the tariff changes. A room could be as low as $500 to like $3,000, depending on how many people are just walking in from Ahmedabad to or the other parts of the around Ahmedabad coming to Mount Abu. That was the situation, and we realized whenever we started selling, and there were so many companies selling at that time, including Make My Trip, Yatra. There was a company called Desi and stuff like those. When we started selling hotel inventory on our platform and digitizing, the flights got digitized in 2005-06 when the airline started. Then we said, why not hotels, which were digitized in global markets. Booking.com was coming up, Expedia, Priceline, everybody was selling in global market. Zero was largely digitized. And then we started looking at this problem. Then we figured out, whatever we were selling online, 15 to 20% of that was not getting honored on the ground, because of just sheer one problem of communication between what we were selling, what we were showing, versus what the hoteliers was thinking. So typical model, when there is high demand, then there will be demand across. So there will be demand on OTAs on platform like us, and there is this demand at the hotel as well. So hotel had the guy who's at the reception, because was busy in doing multiple stuffs, was never aware that we have sold a room and he has to block a room or he has to do that entry. He was always concentrating on the guy who's walking in with the cash, and in most of the cases, because of the high demand, that cash was higher than the price he sold, because he forgot to change the rate for a long weekend or a Saturday or a Sunday. So things were like very, very different. There were OTAs and other players who would call hotels every morning, would have a large call center. And the typical problem of Indian technology provider, which is, if you don't have people using your technology, you throw people onto it and then try and make things happen, right? The typical Indian way, because manpower cost is so cheap. So people would, call center would call every hotel in the morning and ask, hey, how many rooms do you have available? So that hotelier will give 2, 3, 4, 5 and price change or anything else and say thank you. And we said, this will not the way things will work. And then we started building this platform, which is still used by largest amount of hotels. Most of you must be using that, which is InGo MMT today, which was InGo IBGO earlier. That platform was built to teach the guy on the reception to update rate in inventory. So we like put a large team on the ground going out to every hotel and teaching how to update written inventory. I think that's when we started, and that's what the magic we started seeing when that whole inventory started getting digitized. People started buying, and then whole online buying, the whole OTA buying started happening immediately after that. So that was one phase which actually revolutionized the whole hotel industry, and people have started seeing the higher occupancies directly from FIT travelers, and then then the hoteliers also started seeing their ARRs going up. Their their actual occupancies went up by 5-10%. Who started using these technologies, and then people got used to all the channel managers because they started now they've seen the fruit coming from one OTA and then want to do multiple global OTAs and stuff like those. So that was one phase of the life, which was 13, 14, and 15. I know a lot of hotels whose business, like 90% business come from OTAs, which are Goa and make trip largely. So people have seen those
That's
areas.
right.
That was one revolution which happened in 2013, 14, and then a lot of hotels started opening up. A lot of hotels started making more money. Suddenly, the business, the return on capital seemed even higher than earlier. And now is the another time which might just change the whole behavior. By the way, this COVID situation will definitely change the way traveler will think about going to a hotel. This will change the way traveler will think about just for traveling. This will, is the situation right now. It's so scary that people are scared of stepping out of the house. Forget about getting into a train or a flight. And there are
Challenge.
there are green shoots which are showing like there is pent up demand. People want frustrated at home, want to go reach out somewhere. But will I go to a hotel where 10 people have already visited before me, and there are 100 people already in the hotel or not? I don't know. Whether I will like to go into a place which is secluded and I can feel more secured. It's one perspective versus another perspective. Is your perspective versus mine? But things will definitely change. Things will definitely change. It's the time for hoteliers to think. Distribution is one piece, but running that whole business is another big important piece at this point in time. We are discussing about distribution. Distribution will come in places when there is demand. Then there is demand across. First of all, that creating that confidence that coming to my place is safe. We are all now interacting in bubbles, and we feel safe traveling in that bubble. Do we feel safe moving out of that bubble or not? Are we feeling safe going to the mall? Which mall will that be? Is that your property? If you are that property, then there is high chance of getting demand. Demands are back to 10, 15, 20% level depending on which city you are in. But that demand will go to that guy who will say, by the way, I am the safest place in this town, and so you can visit and be secured about it. You're talking about a family traveling to a place and staying there. So you need to, that assurance becomes more important than anything else. And then how do you communicate this assurance to the consumer? Today, the communication is far moved ahead. It is a personalized communication to the traveler. It is that personalized communication to the consumer via social network, whether it's a social network or any other platform, be it Instagram, be it Facebook, Twitter. But that communication needs to relate to every consumer who's out there. That communication should not relate to the hotelier himself. In your own, I know hotels. I've been talking to a lot of people lately, and hotels and a lot of friends, and they're thinking in their mind, they're doing the right thing. But look at from the customer point of view. That is, I think, is the most important piece in today's world, because building the trust will even be more tougher than ever. More tougher than ever, right? It will not be as easy as saying, okay, what will, if I go from a hotel A to a B, how much, what is the impact? The maximum impact in pre-COVID would be like, I will not like that room and I'll shift to some other hotel. There will be financial implication of depending on which kind of hotel you are staying in. That's it. But today, that could be a big health hazard. So that trust building is even. So that's one of the trend I am seeing today. The another trend I'm seeing is that the millennial which is traveling. The millennial is the guy who's traveling today. It is not going to happen that a family will be the green shooters. It will be the millennials who start taking more risk because they are more, they think that they have the last chances of having the COVID. So if the millennials are the guys, then how are you targeting them? How do they need to be treated? It needs to be very, very different, right? When I was 25 years old, my requirements were very, very different than that today. Today, when I travel with my kids, my requirements are different. When I travel alone, my requirements are different. So how do you need to really define your super bullseye TG and really work towards that so that you can build that communication which actually hits that TG and you get that audiences. So I think that's a time evolving. You need to really, really go down to a blank sheet and say, okay, this is my bullseye TG. I need to figure out what will I offer to this TG and build it around. I was just, in fact, before this call, I was just tweeting on this and that, the hotels need to be, now is the time to be like a Atmanirbhar hotel, which means self-sustained inside one property. Earlier people used to travel for things to do in the city and then stay in a hotel. The times are different. That for next 6 months, year and a half, 2 years till the time that vaccine comes in, the virus goes off. I think people will go to a place which is very secure, promise that security, and connect with the consumer and gives everything inside. So things to do now from a city moves inside the hotel and every hotel. So how do you play that is another big area. I think that's my 2 cents on this subject. Thank you.
Thank you, Deepak. It's been interesting. Now, if you sort of heard me when I was speaking in the beginning, the challenge, I agree with you, is how do the hotels bring their house in order to the new normal? And I, being a hotelier, I personally feel that hotels are a very responsible business. At least 50 to 60% of the hotels would bring their house in order to comply. You would have seen after 9/11 there was an immense amount of fortification in terms of the security which happened around the hotel. So similar kind of things have been done by the hotel. Now, you also mentioned about the technology services the demand, but I think what we are looking at here is that, or if you can share in 1 minute, as to how can technology help in creating demand? Because hotels can create additional packages and hotels can. Because can technology be a partner in demand creation is what the issue is. Hotels and properties and principal points would be able to create different services and offers. Before I go to Mr. Praveen Paul, if you can answer this in 1 minute or so.
Sure. So I think the way to look at technology is to be like an enabler rather than the creator. I think that's a fundamental difference between the way the question has been portrayed. So the technology becomes an enabler. Technology has never been a creator. So there is no technology in the world who will say, okay, I'll create it for you. It can be an enabler. The creator is the seller in itself. The creator would be that sweet communication coming from the hotel. Technology can take that communication, reach out to the consumer. The enabler would be the operations changes you're doing at the hotel, or how, as you said, 50-60% becomes reliable. What about the rest 40? And of those 40, about the 60 who are reliable, who will change to the conditions and provide the secure environment. The technology then take it to the next level, right? When Ranvijay was mentioning about distributing through multiple channels and whatever is available in the world, he's just mentioned in that conversation. So there are multiple channels available, and there are players like a lot of players on this call, who can just take those inventories and distribute them. I don't think that's a challenge at all. It's about what do you communicate. Whether you go to a source and say my hotel name is, for example, ABC, and then you say ABC COVID-free hotel. Okay, will you change that name and give that trust to the consumer? Or will you say, if you get COVID in my property, I will reimburse all the medical expenses? Or will you say, if you get COVID in my property by any chance, I'll give you 200,000 rupees return or 200x return of your coming into the property? Will you go to that exercise if you're really sure that there is every process being followed and there is no way that this will happen? These are just an example coming. I'm just throwing it off, right? This is a big question. It is not about, there is no, if we are living in fool's world if we think there is enough demand in the market. There is not. The demand is very, very. So we need
I think the writing is very clear. writing is very clear on the wall. There is no demand, and I think you've answered the question in very. When you say creator and enabler, that's what answers my question, because creator means, the properties, the principal service providers have to start creating CBCs, confidence building creations or plans, CBP you can call it. And then technology essentially will enable it to reach out to the audiences and people and etc. etc. Thank you, Deepak, for your detailed light on this entire thing. May I now request Mr. Praveen Paul of the Windsor Group to share his thoughts. I understand your cloud property management system has been active at very many hotels, and to kindly enlighten us with your thoughts and views of this entire subject.
Sure thing. Thank you, Mr. Gupta. I think I'll take a cue from what Deepak just mentioned in regards to technology being an enabler. I think that is something that all of us know. And along the wayside, I suppose over the last 2 years, technology has sort of taken a backseat, especially contactless technology, right? Contactless technology has been around for years. It is nothing new, but it always had taken a backseat, right? Because there were always people to do the job, in terms of actually utilizing technology. So now that's really come to the forefront. It's been taken off the back burner. And we've been speaking to a lot of our hotels. A lot of hotels also have been speaking to us in regards to the distribution, how are they going to be reviving things? I think a majority comes from the past relationships that they've had, for the hotels that had corporate business. It was, maintaining those relationships with their corporate clients during the lockdown period, right? So in effect, in our software, even though the day-to-day operations weren't there, we saw a lot of activity in the sales aspect. So still there were sales guys making calls, contacting the corporates, still keeping that engagement level high. And to ensure that, when the time comes when they were ready, they'll always have a direct pool to essentially tap on and then move on to actually securing that business coming up to make sure they haven't forgotten about them. And hotels in Dubai that were using our software kept, emailing their past guests. I guess it's difficult in this day and age to look at new business, but you've got to look at the business that you've had, the guests who visited, contact them, be engaged with them, because definitely if the confidence is there and the confidence is built, they will definitely visit your property again, right? So we saw a lot of things like that happening during the lockdown period. And with the new normal, obviously we've had to reinvent ourselves as a software company, and a lot of companies have. It's in essence taking everything contactless, right? And contactless is something that a lot of companies are doing right now. So as a hotelier, how do I pick which system to go with, or which system do I utilize in my property? And it's a challenge because I think we've spoken to some of our hotels which have seen maybe 7 or 8 systems, and they're confused. Like, what do I use? How do I use it? Is it going to be beneficial? Which sort of prompted us to go down the path of sort of building our own system integrated. And there are many reasons for that. Like, guest engagement probably needs to be a lot more than it used to be before. Fine, we're not engaging guests face to face. But there's a lot of engagement happening behind the scenes, right? So guest engagement is actually going to triple, if not quadruple, right? You have to engage and speak to your guests more. And that starts from, as some of the other panelists were saying, from the website. The OTA has to portray a message that has to follow through to when it actually comes to your website, your booking engine. Even when the guest walks into your hotel, with the signage, that whole image has to be brought across and displayed across the entire spectrum. Our system, basically, we engage the guest using contactless. So I guess as soon as the guest actually comes into makes a reservation, the system automatically starts then communicating with the guest to keep them fully engaged through the entire guest journey. So it shouldn't just start in the beginning and then end up halfway. So the entire journey from the start to the checkout is through a system that actually completely runs on the mobile, right? And that way they are feeling safe that they're not going to their rooms and picking up a menu card which someone else has handled. They're not picking up the phone which they don't know whether it has been properly sanitized. So these are things that actually have a lot of guests are conscious about this. And after speaking to a number of hoteliers and also putting ourselves in the guest shoes, we understood that these are things that really a good system needs to have, and it has to be very heavily integrated with the hotel system, because hotels are really no doubt going to be running lean and mean now, right? So you're going to have much less of a workforce. You can't really, I suppose, have many staff in the property, and the staff have to be properly utilized. So for that, obviously, technology has to play a very key role. in enabling the staff that are actually there, the minimal staff that are there, perform a higher level of guest satisfaction and also keep the guests fully engaged. So that's from the, I guess, contactless point of view. From the pricing aspect, obviously, we've seen a lot of hotel owners now personally getting involved in the hotel operations because cost optimization is going to be a key thing that everyone's looking at. Obviously, the business is not there, but I'm going to bring the cost down as much as possible. So having a system there, again, that, spans the hotels, gives you very clear clarity on how the hotel's costing is working. And not just about the rooms, it's about the F&B, it's about, how my stores, my inventory, there's certain things I'm buying which are not being properly utilized. So, in effect, completely managing the cost aspect of things, that is another thing that a good system really has to provide the hotels. And in terms of guest acquisition, I think this is something that is going to be a challenge. And as I said earlier on, I suppose we really need to look at our past guests who have visited, engage them, past relationships, reinvigorate them. And also with, I guess, giving the guests the comfort that the hotel is disinfected. I've been told that hotels should not use the word clean because hotels have always been clean. But use the word disinfected instead, right? Because you don't want to give them an idea that you're suddenly clean now, whereas you've not been clean before. So to the point where, for example, when you're walking into the hotel, you see people or see your housekeeping team actually cleaning the hotel, right? And these are visual cues that your mind just picks up on. In addition to some other webinar that I attended, even suggested the door should have a seal. So as you're going into the room, you're putting the seal to go in, right? These are things that that give you that comfort factor that once the room has been.
Well, definitely works.
I'm going in. So a lot of things actually have to come in play together, not just technology. There are a lot of other physical things that also need to happen to give the guest satisfaction and build the loyalty. Because at the end of the day, when the guest is staying here and going out, they've got to talk about your hotel and say, I felt very safe. I had a wonderful experience, and that's going to spur more loyalty and more trust as the hotels move forward. So I think I'll leave it at that, and I will go through. Thanks, Mr. Gupta.
Right. Thank you for a detailed listing. I think, yes, you're right. I mean, the contactless reservation to check in, to check out, to experiencing the various services definitely on. But I guess the room key card would still be part of it. Is that right?
Yes, the room key card, but changing the room key cards to the ones that work through the phone is another expense for hotels, right? Yeah. So that's unlikely to happen anytime soon. But that could be the only touch point as you're going to the hotel, because you already checked in before you've gone there. You just pick up your key and go to your room, right? So that will probably be the only contact point.
Is facial recognition likely to come to Indian hotels soon? I mean, facial recognition, check-in as well as getting into the room, opening the door. Is it likely to come to
India? Probably from a check-in, I guess, authorization point of view. We're doing a project with the Singapore Tourism Board right now, so a couple of their hotels. And that's part of the pre-check-in process, right? That essentially the person has to take a picture of themselves, and that picture has to be recognized with an ID before they can actually dispense the key, right? So certainly that is something that will come to India down the track, and more so now with the need for a less face-to-face interaction.
Thank you, Praveen. It's been really,
just add
really enlightenment. Yes, please, Mr. Deepak.
Sorry, I think there is no dearth of technology in Indian companies, by the way. So the thinking of that the technology will come to India or not now, we have crossed that stage. There is enough and more technology companies in India who are doing as good work as happening in the West or East. It's about the business owners to adopt those technologies. I know of some companies who are already doing these services, and they would be available in the market. It's not very difficult technology to be built around. So there are a lot of channel managers, PMSs who would have this technology already available.
And as a hotelier, we are having a problem now. Now people are asking for smart televisions. So we have. I had to install. I have just started a new hotel, and I have a smart 55-inch TV where people are through their login. They are watching Netflix and what you call Amazon, because they don't want to watch the normal television. And they have their own idea, so they just want a smart TV so that they can just work on. So that is what just lately.
Zanvijay will come back. We'll come back. We have one more panelist to share his views. And thank you, Deepak and Ranvijay, for highlighting the technology point. Yes, I'm aware of it that there is no dearth of technology because there's no question of technology coming to India because I think globally, if there is some brain which is creating technology and providing technology, that's an Indian brain. And if you look at the number one, number two, number three slots of all companies involved from this Google to this to that, everyone is a brother from some part of this country. So I now come over to Dheeraj Trivedi, who's been a revenue wizard, handling his own company by the name of Immense Hospitality. But he's the one who's a practicing revenue manager and he deals with the entire technology. So all dashboards and everything created is the output is felt at his hand. Dheeraj, your thoughts, your view.
Thank you, Mr. Gupta. I hope I'm audible to you all. If not, then you can let me know.
Slightly louder, please.
Thank you, Mr. Gupta. So, Mr. Gupta, I'll just quickly take on a quick pointers which were discussed by the earlier panelists. You mentioned about the man behind the machine, and I think you rightly said that revenue management and distribution is a very, very important part of the hotel operations. Now, today it has become more strategic in nature by getting the tools and working on different platforms of technology and also with the partners. So I'll just there are looking at the past, present, and the future part of it. So when we see the current scenario, the realities is that social distancing, we've got hygiene requirements which the hotel needs to implement, and the customer preferences. So I just want to take a step back and say that, okay, let's review the current situation and see that where is the demand and how the hotel is going to make revenues out of it. A lot of people have been talking about that there is no demand, what's the point of having the distribution in? So my take here is that as far as the revenue management is concerned, your work starts right from the design of a hotel, and this is a situation where we deal day in and out with all the current scenarios. So how do we create demand? How do we talk to our suppliers in order to increase our bottom line? Look at the supply side of it, and also see that what kind of the tools hotels are having currently. Now, the biggest challenge with hotels in past was that they never had a strong distribution point, and the business was largely lying on B2B. It was offline. And in the last couple of years, and we've been practicing this, we've seen in the recent past that close to about 50 to 60% of the hotel segment, they have either opted for technology enhancement or they are already doing it. So that's a good news. Now, how do we look into the current scenario? There are three aspects what we largely look under revenue management for hotels. One is that you look at all the multiple purpose of or your all-purpose tool which is working for a hotel. Now it can be your brand website, it can be your global distribution, it can be OTA management, it can be your CRS, it can be anything which has to do with your business. Second is work on your cold strategies, and third is you work on your hot strategies. So the question comes in is that what is the difference between a hot strategy and a cold strategy? So my point is that a hot strategy is where the hotel is really doing well and you're turning away guests. But at the same time, when you don't have a business, that's your cold strategy. So the point here is that what is it that the hotel should be doing during this time? Now, point number one is that evaluate all source market, re-engineer your segment, look at your demand sources, see that you have whether you have a equipped team, you have qualified people working around the data technology, or you need a lot of training. Revenue management as a subject always have been into talks because you don't find talented experts, those who are working in revenue management, who understands technology, sales processes, marketing, campaign management, whatever the social media new thing which is coming in. So team as a whole plays a very important role again. And third is the enhancement of technology. Now, when we're talking about processes, people, we should not forget about the product, because technology enhancement is investment for every hotel. The way they're investing in human resource, the way they're investing in their product enhancement, this is something which is an investment for handling the business which is futuristic. Now, some suggestions I heard Deepak was saying, Praveen was saying, and so is Ranvijay was talking about acquisition cost. Deepak was talking about the technology being an enabler, and Praveen was talking about the cloud solution. Now, if I don't have an understanding as far as the revenue manager is concerned at the hotel or a marketeer, then the entire work which is being carried out goes for the toss. Now, here is a revenue manager who comes in with a data analytics, reservation background, understands a little bit of technology, and wants to do more business on the sales side of it. So my take on with all the panelists what they've spoken about, it is very important for hoteliers, number one, to maximize their distribution channel, invest in technology, integrate your technology to one common place, not to leave certain things. Don't work with 50 different vendors when you have multiple things coming in it at one structured place. Think strategically and see how you are consolidating your system. So examples, as Praveen was talking about, under a cloud, we can look into a geo pricing, geographic. What you're seeing on Delhi, your database or your client, those who are looking into your data, your Delhi geolocation will not see the same rate what the Bombay location is looking at. So a geolocation strategic on the pricing, ongoing trends on the hotels. I've seen that the hotel should actively participate in online ordering, because most of them have already done it. As you know, the Statista 2020 report says that in the next 4 to 5 years, the online delivery will double the numbers what they are currently. So, what are the possibilities in order to enhance the technology? Is the important thing is that how do people reach out to you? Google, mobile, anything search related. So, is your site optimized? It's not only a site, but is your site optimized? Is your image optimized? Are you working on social media? Is your press working well? Are you talking on a blog? Are you editing content? This is one part of it. Similarly, when you're talking about global distribution, are you participating? Have you reworked on your terms and conditions? Have you revisited your pricing for the future? What kind of demand is it been in for the future? Getting things right on the back end where your travel management is concerned. Now, there are two things which I would want to basically recommend. One is looking at the current scenario. One is a tweak, and second one is innovate. Now, we're talking about tweaking. Under all tweaking, your current situation, like your pricing, campaign management, upselling, promotions, redesigning, e-distribution, all that can be relooked at as far as your tweaking is concerned. Your other things which we can tweak is your banquets, in-room dining, and how you're creating the experience around. So the question again comes back that how do we get the money onto the table, and that's where we optimize and we come and talk to the hotel owners. How smartly are you managing your distribution channel? So we spoke about the cold strategies, we spoke about the hot strategies, and also the multi-purpose tools. Now this is where it's important, where the hotels have started building smart buffets, self-service, grab to go, a la carte buffet which is pre-prepared, a tea cart which has been prepared by the guest himself, and also we're looking at the express breakfast with most of the hotels. So the hotels have now started looking at rooms into a private dining space. So that's something which most of the hotels can actually look into and work upon. So the first is a tweak. The second part is how do we innovate. Now there is introduction of a ghost kitchen which has been introduced. Now what ghost kitchen basically does is that end consumer would not know that where the food is coming from. Looking at the hygiene and ensuring that the safety and security of all that is being well maintained. Now, the hotels have to start thinking outside of the box, that not only is my room or a F&B, but there is something which I have to collaborate with within the hospitality and start working together and not start working against each other. So that's a differential where I see in the last couple of months, where I have seen where the competition is always used to be that, okay, what is my price next door, or what is it that kind of a demand which is coming in. I've seen a lot of hoteliers have come together and they've started understanding now that this is the time now, and we have to all work together in order to not only get the technology up but also work in line with creating a demand. So in old days, it used to be a destination which used to they used to sell a destination, and they never used to sell a hotel. Now similarly, I think the hoteliers are coming back again, and with Mr. Gupta, with your experience in hotels, this is something I have seen, that hotels have started investing on a smart technology and investing on people, those who understand way forward. And innovation is something that it goes every single day. How about you, Mr. Gupta?
Thank you, Dheeraj. It's been quite nice listening to you, and especially, I noticed that the first revenue manager probably who's gradually shifted gears from rooms to food and beverage. You're not only talking of selling rooms, you have your eyes on the food and beverage. I think a very smart move, because food and beverage has in the past been equaling almost room revenue. Now, hotel, the revenue mix has been changing gears. And a couple of things, your hot strategy, cold strategy, etc., I think are this thing. The only thing on the tweak and innovate, I would say, is that also at one location, probably it's also time for hoteliers and all service providers of different aspects to collaborate. Instead of, if there are 4 hotels at a location, instead of competing with each other, if all 4 can compete, if 4 can join each other and collaborate rather than this thing, there will be a much better philosophy other than anything else. Having heard you all, may I now request each one of you to share the thoughts. I mean, each one of you can take about 2 minutes. Sharing, you've heard the other panelists also, your thoughts, any points you have on this, before I give it to Deepak or Sibashish for any questions they may have. We can start with Ranvijay.
So I just received a message how to increase direct booking.
Yeah, share it with us.
What I personally is doing, I'm basically, all my bookings are all driven by my channel manager and my booking engine. So any product or OTA is launching, जैसे I will give you an example, Booking.com. If it launches a product which is known as a secret deal or a genius deal where they are getting a discount, I automatically, our booking engine is also offering the same kind of product on our booking system. So if any guest, और most of the time what is the problem is कि सब जो होटल होते हैं उनके जो होटल की जो होम पेजेस होते हैं वो they are all mostly on a server based, तो खुलने में बहुत होटल की वेबसाइट नहीं खुलती है, and then they are not on cloud, it is very slow, and their booking system on there, when somebody who comes on the website, because everybody who's looking at booking your hotel once comes to your hotel website, and that is when you have to acquire. So that is a time when you have to have a very nice, amazing artificial intelligence chat box placed on your website. You have to have direct communication tab, which is the WhatsApp tab or probably Messenger, and also you have to have your booking engine were already loaded with those promo codes on the homepage. So as soon as somebody lands on your hotel website, and the best thing is how other meta searches and OTAs they create reservation is that they do a watch the rate, watch my rate. Like on my website, somebody comes on my hotel website, my booking engine already shops and pulls out rates from the channel manager and compares our direct booking rates with the OTA rates. So the guest automatically.
If I may come in here, all this technology is helping you as an operator to see what's happening.
Yeah.
Right? But my perspective would be, being a devil's advocate, what is happening to the consumer, actual traveler? What is he feeling about this? Is he feeling more confused?
Means booking now, sir?
No, booking a room when he sees multiple offers and they also.
Sir, that is what I'm trying. You either have to convince your guest, or you have to confuse, or you have to corrupt.
Oh God! Very old marketing principle.
Either you convince the guest on booking. See, because what happens is, sir, once you
are taking advantage of the technology to do the same.
Yeah. So what I am doing is that anybody who's coming up, just said while I was speaking to you guys, I have already created 3 reservations. In between, you see, my screen was off. Because
don't forget to pay the commission to us. We help you in doing it.
So
I will take it. Thank you, Ranvijay. I will come back to you a little later. I will now come to Mr. Amarjeet. Any thoughts, Mr. Amarjeet, on listening to the other panelists? Any views you have? Any ideas which come to your mind? Hello. You have to unmute yourself, sir. Yes, sir.
So everything said and done, there is the biggest challenge with the industry these days: sustainability.
Right.
Under COVID time, properties have started opening up, but still it is very difficult for them to break even. I'll give you an example again. We talk of a restaurant. I belong to Chandigarh. A restaurant has opened in Chandigarh. Now the timing is 10 to 8. Now restaurant mainly survive on dinner, if I am correct. I am a IT person, but my experience I am sharing with you. So when the restaurant has to close at 8, you have to take last order at 7, and after the staff has to wind up the thing and reach their destination by 8. So 7 is hardly a time for dinner. So the revenue has come down to, I'm talking both about hotel and restaurants, to around 30%. So it has become very difficult for them to sustain, and if the trend goes on in our area, more than 70% restaurant will close permanently, right? They will have such a big liabilities. So what I am feeling right now is, yes, technology can help, but when there are customers, when there are guests in the hotel, now we should focus how we can bring back the guests, how we can restore their faith, that because everybody is afraid. So how we can restore their faith using technology, and so that they start coming back to the properties. Thank you.
Thank you. I think, yes, you have a point there. If the restaurants continue to use the old practice of operating lunch and dinner, there is a challenge, because 8 o'clock is the time you open for dinner. Unless the restaurant revise their own timings, that now let's open at 11 and close at 6. And instead of serving lunch and dinner, let's serve the menu which is available for these hours, etc., etc. They'll give space, time, and place, and probably more consumer. You see, the business has to be designed for as the environment appears now. That's what somebody created this terminology called new normal. Unfortunately, it's not imposed by government, it's not imposed by anything, it's imposed by the circumstances. So there is no, but nevertheless, thank you for your views, and it's good to know your thoughts. And this is really creating a big challenge for the food and beverage industry because a lot of restaurants are under pressure based on the point what you raised. Mr. Praveen, any thoughts in your, Mr. Praveen Paul?
Yes, Mr. Gupta. I think when you started off, you did mention that I think governments need to take more initiative in certifying hotels, right? For example, I think in Singapore they have this, scheme called SG Clean, right? And then essentially when the hotel is classed as clean by the government, they have a third party that does that. The hotel gets that certification, right? So to have something like that here would be fantastic, and done by government instead of, through a third party, right? So it's more about, from our perspective, what I've sort of taken away from this as well. I think revenue managers don't only look at rooms now, right? I mean, revenue managers are a bit more focused on F&B because that's really what's the lifeblood at the moment, right, for most properties. And certainly technology is an enabler. It is here to help the hotels, and engage the guests more than they have done in the past. And guests need to be a hell of a lot more engaged than they were in the past, to make sure that they have that feeling that they're safe. That's pretty much it from my side, Mr. Gupta. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Praveen. Dheeraj, any thoughts, any closing views from your side?
Mr. Gupta, we've been talking about revenue management. I think we should talk about the total hotel revenue management.
Yeah,
And,
that's right.
During this time, we all have been facing the same issues. Which, if it's a bigger or a smaller hotel, now my only one point which I would like to share with all the audience here is that please do not drop your price. By dropping your price, you're not going to generate any further demand. You please add in value and see that your guests are well taken care of, they are safe and secure. Thank you, Mr. Gupta.
I'm glad you conveyed the message because unexpected industry, one of the things it does is that it drops the rate first of all.
And that is what the problems are right now we are facing in Jaipur. It's a serious rate war.
Yeah, Jaipur is a matured market. It has oversupply of rooms. So I guess till the time it begins to fill up itself, it will take a little time.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Ranvijay. Thank you, Amarjeet. And thank you, Praveen. Thank you, Deepak,
Thank you.
participating in this webinar. I hope, Sivashish, we made your webinar worth the topic.
Thank you, Mr. Gupta.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So thank you, Manoj. Can I?
Hello.
Yes. Who's taking? There are a few questions for the audiences. Shall I share it with you all? Is Ranvijay there? Is Ranvijay? Okay, we'll come back to it. There's a question from a student. It says India's highly regarded Incredible India Tourism Board has generated a significant amount of global inbound travel. However, the message must evolve or risk becoming stale. Who should take up branding of tourism industry, government or private sector? Who would like to take on this question? Dheeraj, yes, I'm okay.
Mr. Gupta, I think this is a valid question and very well asked. I think at this stage, both the hoteliers, as we were discussing during our session, that it's a joint effort between the hoteliers and the government, where both can work hand in hand and take responsibility and look at the future business which is coming in. Yes, it is a difficult time for all of us, but we all have to work together, understand the need, because it's a global pandemic, and there are certain things which we need to kind of look at, because it's all about human life. So the hotels are getting geared up, they're putting their strategies and their SOPs in place so that it becomes more secure and safe place. So to answer in a just to conclude, saying that it's a joint effort between the government and also with the hoteliers, which we largely see which is happening at the moment.
Absolutely, I agree with you. This will have to be, I guess, jointly pushed forward to make sure that it works well. Uh, Somebody had a difficult situation. Question from, I guess, Kanchan Plaza. We had a tie-up with OYO for 1 year. They still have to pay us 3.5 lakhs. How we can recover that? Uh, I guess I can take that answer to this. I think largely your contract or your agreement with OYO will drive the response to this question, and we'll have to engage with them directly to cover this money, unless somebody else has anything else to contribute to this. So I go on to the next question. Mr. Abhi Talukdar has asked a question. In the last 4 months, I observed that the technology CEOs and hotel owners themselves are not ready to get out of their home. With their families to a restaurant or a hotel, how do they expect consumers will do so? So I guess what he's trying to say is that being technology or the restaurant owners or the hotel owners, you lead the path and then the customers will start coming in. Well, Ranvij is not here. I would have requested him to answer this question. Maybe Mr. Praveen, you'd like to share, you being a CEO and Mr. Amarji, you can share your thoughts being CEO of the technology companies. Yeah, Praveen. There's kind of a disturbance, slightly, Praveen. You could hear me, Praveen? You have to unmute yourself. But when you unmute, I think your sound becomes. Mr. Amarjit, would you like to talk?
Can you repeat
Would you
the
like
question,
to?
please?
I can.
What he's saying is, in the last 4 months, I observed that the technology CEOs and hotel owners themselves are not coming out of their homes. How they expect consumers to do so? It's a question about, how do you build faith amongst the customers?
Some of our clients, hotels, they have started sharing the videos and pictures, what steps they have taken on WhatsApp groups and other social media platforms, right? So that is just an indication that yes, we are taking steps, we are following government norms, we are following SOPs which are prescribed by the government, and I think we have to take similar steps, right? All the hotels have to take those steps, and every hotel has a database with them, so they can start sharing the pictures and videos with them, whatever they have done in the property, with respect to government guidelines and safety norms.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, Praveen, you wanted to share something. I think Dheeraj, you wanted to say something.
Mr. Gupta, looking at the demand for hotels, I think we discussed about the distribution, how important is the distribution today. Now, the hotelier should be connected well with all the guests and the end consumers. We've been listening about the artificial intelligence, AI, how it's playing a very vital role with understanding the user behavior. Now, generating a demand is something that will eventually happen, and this we see that once the vaccine is out and people will be more comfortable moving out. But till that time, it's important that we should know as hoteliers that what is it that the end consumers are looking out. Are they shopping around but they are not buying, or they are willing to travel and they have some sort of fear in mind? So how do we overcome those scenarios and bridge the gap in between, stay connected with our end consumers, bring in technology, understand where the clients are searching for, what are they up to, what is it that they're looking forward for? Is it something related to their family reunion? Are they really cooked up the houses for the last 4 5 months? Do they really need a break? The teams, those who are working from home, they are really looking forward to have a session outside a place which is maybe on a drivable distance close by to all the metro cities. Go there, see that the hotels are safe, secure. They can have a joint meeting with a small gathering and take things forward from there. So, generating demand will certainly add a lot of value for a hotel business, because as a owner, the question is that when should I start seeing the business coming in? So whether it's your online travel agent with your intelligence, what you get, are people actually searching for your hotel or your destination? If they are searching, what is it that you should be offering end of the day to make sure that they come back and stay at the hotel?
Yeah. No, I think he's gone on to answer the question partly and also partly revert back in a similar manner what we had said earlier. He's also further said individual properties are trying at their own level through the different platforms to build confidence of consumers. Now that consumer confidence is presently the consumer confidence is the lowest. How technology enables hotels to make the guests come out of their homes. I think we discussed this during the seminar. It is not only just doing things in the hotel. What technology will enable you to do is that you can create communication, effective communication, and the proper means of media and tools to communicate it to the right as to what you are doing at the property. I guess that will build confidence amongst the travelers or the visitors that this is what it is going and this is what I'm likely to get at this property and this property is safe. It's quite clear. I can see that net has made me lose a couple of panelists. Probably they'll come back in a while. Praveen, anything you would like to add to this thought?
Yeah, sure. Am I audible now? I hope so.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, so I guess the question was, I'm sorry, I was just jumping in and out, but in regards to technology, I think building confidence, right, from the technology perspective. So, I mean, I wasn't able to answer the first question, but certainly I'm out and about. Obviously, I try to get the family out, but unfortunately for us here in Chennai, everything's still closed. The restaurants are closed, so we don't have an opportunity to do that. But waiting for the opportunity, as you know, all of us in the industry, we love to get out and about, right? We don't like staying at home. And it's been across the board. I think all of us feel like we got this big ball and chain hanging off us now. And it's one thing that being in the hotel industry, we always love that face to face. So it's a challenge for us, and we're waiting for things to open up. From a tech perspective, obviously, it's more about, I guess, inspiring confidence in the end guests, or in the term of restaurants, I guess the visitors who are going to the restaurants. So that has to stem from obviously social media marketing. You've got to promote a safe and healthy environment, and that's the way you woo your guests back, right? I mean, it's not going to be a completely tech-driven thing, and as Deepak mentioned before, tech is an enabler. It can't actually bring guests back to your establishment, but it will certainly provide the means to help you communicate with your guests and instill that confidence to bring them back to the hotels as well as the restaurants.
Absolutely. Thank you, Praveen. I think that sums up our webinar on all these aspects. There are no more questions. Mr. Manoj, over to you.
So we came to the end of this webinar. So it was a nice discussion, and so it's my opportunity to give the vote of thanks to all the speakers and all the participants who were there. So I want to give the vote of thanks individually So I would like to thank Mr. Amarjit Singh, CEO SoftGen, for his great speech. And I would like to thank Deepak Tulli, ex-CEO, ex-CBO MMOIT Group and co-founder of Go IVO. I would like to thank Dheeraj Trivedi, Chief Executive Officer of Immense Hospitality. Also, I would like to thank Pravin Paul, co-founder of the Windsor Group. He has explained very clearly what technology can do and what cannot. And again, I would like to thank Ranvijay Singh, the owner of Umesh Hotel. He is having quite bit experience, a lot of experience related to the hotel industry because he has been doing with that from very early age. So he has explained it very clearly that what are the things that the hospitality industry is providing. And also, I would like to thank special thanks to Mr. Sunil Gupta for moderating the complete session in a very well manner. And also, I would like to thank all the participants who were there, who have patiently listened to all of us. And also, they have asked very good questions. And also, I would like to thank Abhi Talukdar sir for his good question, and also the same way it has been replied. So I would like to thank again all the participants and the speaker, and thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.